Welcome back to Dance is My Business, and today we have a very special guest, the lady that helped me to give birth to this idea of ADC back in 2009 as a concept, as something that we did as a side, I guess, business for the Aventura Dance Studios at the time, our dance studio that we had and all of us worked at, and now this big thing, Aventura Dance Cruise. So welcome, Audrey.
Hey, everybody.
We're live on Facebook and we are in our podcast. And
it's legit.
How's life?
It's great. Miss you guys, though. Miss the party, miss the fun atmosphere. That's for sure. My job is pretty serious now.
Your job is pretty. So if you don't mind, really quick, introduce yourself and how do you know ADC?
How do I know ADC? Well, like he said, I was there when ADC was born. By chance, I was helping Moshe run the studio, but at that point I had only been working for like 2 months, just trying to get the hang of like answering the phone. And now he's like, hey, we're gonna do this cruise, process all these forms. And I'm like,
oh yeah, the forms, I forgot about that.
Handwritten forms to book the cruise, which was pretty funny.
That's how old ADC is.
That's how old ADC is.
Before the website, before the payment plan, you had to literally download a form, print it at home.
There's no DocuScanner.
Script your information and fax it to us. And God knows, like, we got some forms. Remember those days we got forms that were so bad written.
Yes,
you couldn't read anything.
Was terrible.
Now you don't know what's their name and you cannot read their phone number. They think they just booked the cruise, but you don't have any idea how to let them know.
Good times. And I was like 19 at the time, just jumping into this. And
yeah, you were super young.
I had no idea what was in store, really, because Moshe was doing most of the work behind the scenes of booking artists and booking the rooms and talking to the cruise line. So I was just booking these forms, and I'm like, this is a lot of people. I don't think he realizes, like, this is a lot of people.
Did you expect 472 people?
Absolutely not. I thought it was going to be the people from the studio. So I thought maybe 30 to 50 people were going to be on this cruise, and these forms just kept coming in. My binder was about that big of all the forms, and then still you see a thick binder, you don't realize what that looks like when they're all coming at you trying to check in.
You don't really understand what's 472 people till you actually see them in front of you.
In front of your face.
Demanding shows, parties, and everything you promised.
Yeah, and back then we didn't have the entire cruise ship to ourselves. So my main job was checking people in right away and giving them a wristband. And I was by myself. Moshe is running around trying to get all the artists and doing everything by himself. And then my job was just sit here at the desk, check everybody in, and give them a wristband. And you would think it's something so simple, but it was extremely overwhelming at that point. And my mom actually went on that cruise, the first cruise ever. And she was like, do you ever stop?
Yeah, a true story. I'm actually going to share it right now live because it happened yesterday. But you think I was running around and chasing these artists, but as you probably know, I was fighting with the cruise line because we were promised this room and that room and everything, and the travel agency at the time, communication wasn't the best, to say the least. So things like, we promised shows at the theater at 9 o'clock, but then the cruise told me, no, you don't have the theater tonight at 9, and I had to fight with them. And I have some Latino blood in me and stuff like that, so I was very adamant, hey, we have almost 500 people here. We have to get them what we promised them. It was promised to me, yada, 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 yada. So, they flagged me apparently, like as a problematic person, which I can be. But, nowadays I'm pretty nice. And anyway, now that we're going back on Royal Caribbean in June, they actually just noticed that there is a flag under my name.
Oh my gosh.
And they contacted me and they asked me, hey, so there's not a lot of information here, but it's so crazy for us that your flag, what happened?
Oh no.
So they really took me back like in memory lane, and I started to explain to them.
I think one of those flags was me.
No, it's 100% me. So they had a photo and my name. And
I remember that you got called in for a meeting because of underage drinking. My mom slid me a drink, and I was 19, 20 years old.
Okay, cut the live feed. Cut the live feed.
And I think one of those was my fault, but I had like a sip. you know.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the reason why I was flagged. There was a lot more. Like, I remember we had the ice skating ring and where the shows were, and I was on stage smiling and keeping everybody happy. And then I ran to the back when the shows were happening and literally fighting with the guys and like, we have to have the pool party like you promised me. And then I went back on stage all smiling and having a good time. It was very traumatic, to say the least. But
honestly, in all the history of all the cruises, the first one is still up there for me.
Wait till you see Cuba. No, but the first one.
That would be crazy. Just because I've never been to Cuba and my whole family's Cuban, I think it's gonna be a very special cruise for everybody to experience. But yeah, the first one.
Of course, the first
for
one
sure.
would have been the best.
Anything. The first one was the best.
The first drink you had.
Shocker. The first drink I had. The first time seeing what salsa on 2 was, what real salsa was on 1, on 2, these shows, bachata, I didn't know what that even was.
Right.
And I mean, it really changed the trajectory of my life after that cruise. It sounds kind of silly to say, but it's true. Like, after that experience, it's like, whoa, this is real. This is really cool. I want to be a part of this, not just sit in the front desk, but like really be a part of this amazing experience for so many people. And then, of course, the first full ship charter.
Yes.
So I guess I like the first.
I think a lot of people can relate to you in the sense that the first time that they saw salsa dancing, if it's in a social or a party, and I was like that too. I took classes. I had a blast. I had, friends and new friends, and it was a lot of fun. But then I went to the first real social, and you see all these people, and everybody has the same story. Everybody has the same story. I was like, oh my God, I need that in my life. I want to do it. This is so cool. And you get inspired. So you got inspired, and then what happened?
The cruise is really where I got inspired. I started taking, because originally at the dance studio leading up to the cruise, I would only take the hip hop classes. I was like, salsa's not for me. And after taking, being on that cruise and seeing all these shows, I was like, Moshe, teach me. I need to learn salsa. I want to teach salsa. I want to be like you. Like, teach me everything.
That's how much she didn't know about salsa, because she looked at me and she's like, teach me. That's how bad.
Moshe's a really good dancer. Don't let him trick you into believing otherwise. He just says that.
All right, I'm a good dancer.
He is. And so we took like private lessons, and he taught me how to teach, all the basics and all of that. And then it was on the second cruise that I started taking more bachata classes, and I fell in love with it. And so I think like a year after that, Moshe kind of saw me in a rut, and he's like, what can we do to like make your job exciting again? Let's change things up. What do you want?
Spice it up.
Let's spice it up. And I'm like, give me a class. I want to teach. And he's like, you teach? Okay, what do you want to teach? He's expecting me to say like hip hop or kids classes.
But you were very confident.
And I was like, bachata. And he was like, really? I'm like, really? Give me a bachata class. And you said, I'm going to give you a workshop. And it was like the week of my birthday and like Valentine's Day. You're like, I'm going to give you the workshop. Let's see how it goes. And if you do well, then we'll talk about having a weekly class. I'm like, all right, it's on. We had like how many people? It was like a couple hundred people. It was my birthday. Remember at the at the warehouse? Mm-hmm. And it was like jam-packed. I mean, most of the people were my family, but there was still a lot of people. It was like a workshop and then a social. It worked out in my favor.
Yeah.
We had, it was seriously over 100 people there. I kid you not.
All uncles.
And cousins and yeah. But no, a lot of people from the dance community came out and they took my class, and it worked out. And needless to say, I started teaching bachata at the studio, and it was
a lot of people want to teach, but you need to have that charisma, that confidence that in most cases comes over time as you build experience. But you had it from the get. Did you taught something before? Was it gymnastic or something?
Yes. So I've always taught before. Like, that was my first job at 15 years old, was teaching gymnastics, teaching hip hop, teaching cheerleading since I was 15 years old. So teaching has always been my passion. I think ever since I was probably as old as I can talk, my dream was, hey, I want a chalkboard and to teach to my stuffed animals. I love teaching. And so I always knew in the back of my mind I needed to do something with that. And I'm not the best dancer in the world, but teaching, I have always been confident in that, because I feel like if you teach me something and you could break it down to me, I could then go on and teach that to somebody else and really connect with people. And that's really where I'm the happiest. So, I mean, it was Moshe who gave me that opportunity, and I'm so grateful
right
for
next
that.
to me, I had my financial statement, and I'm like, all right, we need to make some moves here. Can you teach clean or
do everything?
Yeah. No, but that was a good move. I obviously spotted that you're very passionate about that, and just like with ADC 10 years later, I'm looking for people that has that fire, because that brings that extra something that it's not on the contract, that it's not in the planning, and people pick up on that for sure, because they get inspired, they get excited. So you and bachata had like a very nice romance, like not like salsa. You went more into
I went head on into bachata, and I don't know. I honestly don't know what it was. Like, I honestly cannot even tell you what it was. Something about the music just like captivated me, and I would have never thought. I didn't even know what bachata was. I mean, being Cuban, you're like, bachata? No way am I going to do that. And I loved it. There was some sort of like hip hop. It was more laid back, more chill. You have time to just enjoy the music, and it's easier. So yeah, why not? Salsa for me, which don't get me wrong, I love to watch it, but dancing is extremely challenging, and I feel like I don't look the part in salsa. I feel like I look very stiff dancing bachata, and I couldn't like stop thinking and over analyzing everything, and so it wasn't fun for me. I was thinking too much into it, so I just left it for the professionals, and I'll enjoy watching people.
I think bachata was also cooler. Like, it was cool because there was the hip hop element, and every performance started with a hip hop.
Yeah,
at the time.
Like
some people still do that, but you know, so you're like, I can relate.
Yeah, I could relate to it better. And I just went to DR for the first time after all those years teaching bachata.
We're going in November to DR. Okay.
I can't wait to go back to DR. Honestly, I guess there was something always kind of lining up for me with DR, and the people, the music, the dancing, the spirit of that entire island. I mean, you could feel it the moment you land. So there's just something about it, I guess, that I just connected to.
How was the food? So, like, what do you recommend?
So good. Well, we went to like a little town, and they served us Dominican breakfast, which is like my jam.
What's Dominican
breakfast?
It's not waffles and pancakes.
No, sausage, none of that. They have salami though. Okay. The salami and the queso frito and the mango. Oh, so good.
In the morning?
Oh, you have sausages and bacon in the morning. Oh, yeah. Salami's kind of like, you know, same family thing. Okay. There, kind of, with eggs and mango with like onions on top.
I'm officially hungry at 10 o'clock in the morning.
I'm starving.
But back to bachata. You were really drawn to it. You taught it at the studio. You loved it, and then you taught it also on the cruise.
Yeah, I taught bachata and samba on the cruise. That was another little love that I had too.
Yeah, samba.
Samba of all things. That was another surprise for me. But again, I loved the music, the culture, the people. Same thing. Once I learn something, I want to teach it. Even if I'm not the best, I feel like I could break it down in a way people can understand it. So I started teaching that too at the studio a little bit. That didn't take off as much, but I would teach it at a local bar that was a Brazilian bar. And I taught workshops in it. And that one, the ladies loved. Like, the girls on that boat with samba was a hit. That was a lot of fun.
We should bring it back. Kev, write it down.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. No, but samba on the cruise, I think we had it last year too.
Yes, we have one of the best instructors with Lais, who taught me how to dance. She's the original one that would teach at that bar, and she taught me, and she's amazing. And those classes are always fun. So if you've never done a samba class on ADC, you have to, because it's
so coming from the outside into the scene of dance, back then versus today, how did you see the dance scene like?
The dance scene, more people. I mean, it's growing, especially with now a lot of exposure on TV shows. You know, you have all these salsa dancers that I know from back in the days, the ones that will come in and check in with me, and I will give them a wristband. Now they're on World of Dance, and so you think you could dance, and all these shows. So I feel like because there's more exposure to it, I see a lot more people getting into it. I meet people before and I would say, oh yeah, I would teach, salsa on too, and I taught bachata, and they would be like, oh, what's that? Like nobody really knew what that was. And now they're like, oh, me too. Yeah, there's a dance studio here and I teach it to little girls. And now a lot of these dance studios for young ones, for little ones, have salsa and bachata. I'm like, what? Like, this is great. So definitely see it expanding a lot more. And it wasn't, believe it or not, it wasn't as popular in Miami as it was in other states or other countries. But now it is. Like, Miami is kind of growing in its own way. And you see it in the younger generation. I think that's where I see the biggest shift.
And you turn the dance also as a side project, a non-profit project, if you want to share, because I think it's an amazing project.
This is where I said that ADC changed the trajectory of my life. Working all throughout college from 19 until I graduated at 24 from college, I was studying to work with children with autism. But my job was with Moshe at the studio and teaching dance. And I could see how dance transformed these people's lives, whether you were getting a divorce or you were suffering from an illness or you just moved here from another country and you didn't know anybody. And they would come and tell me these stories of how dance changed their lives in such a positive way, which did the same for me. And I graduated at 24 years old and I was very disappointed in the field that I was in. And so I'm thinking, brainstorming, how can I combine my two passions together of working with children with autism and my life of dance that I've been involved in since as long as I can remember. So that's where I searched up dancing and autism, and it was like a thing. So I got certified in that. I had to go to California, came back, and 3 months later, Spectrum Dance Therapy was born exactly 6 years ago. In February 6 years ago, I started Spectrum Dance Therapy, and we actually taught it at one point at Aventura Dance Studio on Saturdays. And it's the perfect fusion of my love for helping children on the spectrum, my experience and education background of dealing with their problem behaviors and their autism symptoms, and then my love for teaching dance. So that was just like a perfect concoction. And talk about Moshe saying, passion and fueling what you want with your passion. That's why I'm still here 6 years later, still running the only dance program really for children with autism here in South Florida. So it's been pretty amazing. And if it wasn't for that first open door of, hey, come teach it at my studio. Hey, you're a good teacher. You could teach dance, that vote of confidence. That probably would have never happened. And it's pretty amazing that it is happening still.
I bet it's super fulfilling.
It is. It is the most rewarding. I mean, if teaching adults who are going through some stuff, dance is rewarding in and of itself. Imagine these kids who cannot necessarily express themselves or communicate, and their life is very serious. It's school, it's therapy, it's a lot of work. And then they come on Saturdays to a dance party and you see them light up and you see them do things that they've never done before. It is the highlight of my week. Like, that is my Saturday. That it's like the perfect way to end my week with these children, because the families are grateful for it. I see the progress every week. It's pretty awesome.
What do you think what is it about dance that helped them so much?
It's a lot of things. I think the music element plays a good role, because I think music really can influence our moods, and the right song and the right energy can really snap you out of something. Or if you really want to cry, you can, put on Adele and let it out. Like, music really has an impact on our emotions. So you can play with that and put really happy songs. So instantly, your mood is now shifted to positivity and happiness. And then the movements in and of itself that I use are therapeutic. They're there for a reason. It's a lot of like lateral movements, and I can talk about this for days, but basically the movements are all there to strengthen the brain and the exercise of the brain to get them to start talking, making eye contact, be social. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of research behind how pairing music and moves together actually get people to start talking. I mean, you could probably learn a song before you learn to talk.
Right.
I could say Twinkle Twinkle Little, and a little baby might say Star, just because you learn how to sing, and you can hear a song from way back when. We all know this at the pool party when E-Will or Verdugo throws a throwback you haven't heard in 10 years, and you know all the words. You know, there's something about music that really helps your memory, your coordination, your speech, your mood. I mean, everything. And it's social, which these kids, that's one of the things that's hard for them. And it's social. So it's a little bit of everything. And honestly, we all benefit from it. But these kids in particular, it's beautiful to see.
It's amazing. But I mean, a lot of things that you mentioned about how music touches us, move us, and when we're sad, like it reflects all of us.
Yeah.
Like I remember I used to go to social when I just had a bad breakup and I danced my heart out, you know, or like when I'm super happy and excited, or just like, man, work was too much. I just want to let loose, you know.
Exactly.
And then you'll finally spend some money on the bar, but that's a whole different subject. But
water,
right? And you bring that.
I'll bring my own bottle of water too.
but this is what's so amazing about dance. I keep on saying that's what keeps us doing what we do as dancers back at home, or people like us that dance is our business. The impact that dance has. There is no hobby. I don't care what you pick up. Like it can be anything, sports, whatever it is. There's no hobby that gets you to be so social, meet so many people, connect with them, because there is literally
physically,
like a touch,
you know, like you're connecting,
and the music. Yeah. So you combine the music too. It's just
it's
crazy.
A beautiful thing to see. It's a beautiful thing to see, and seeing the beauty of it, and seeing the level, and seeing the impact through ADC and Aventura Dance Studio and all these years of being around dance. It's amazing. And there's a reason why whenever I do fundraisers, because it is a nonprofit, whenever I do fundraisers, the biggest turnout is from the Latin dance community here. Believe it or not. I mean, these are the people that have raised the most funds for our organization. So I have to give it up for that. I mean, Moshe has always been supportive. ADC has been supportive. Our local dance community here has been supportive in South Florida. And it's because you guys value dance. You guys know the impact it makes on your life. And so you can only imagine the impact it makes for children with autism.
Yeah.
And it's been great.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And those 10 years that you've involved the scene, you talked about the growth and everything. Now we have World of Dance and we have all this like crazy stuff.
It's huge.
How do you see the difference between when you started and you got into the scene and now? Does bachata grew? Is it better?
It changed
worse?
a lot. Ooh, I don't want to like offend anybody. That's a touchy subject.
Just share your experience. It's your experience.
The whole sexuality that I feel like it became very perverse, bachata, and I feel like people started doing it for the wrong reasons.
But it's the same with salsa.
Oh, the grinding
what
in bachata is a little intense.
What I'm trying to say is
that's a progression I've seen that
I just want to be very clear about what I was just saying. There were always those people that came to social dance
for the wrong reasons.
For the wrong reasons.
Absolutely.
That's what I meant. Now, these people are percentage-wise are less than a bar in South Beach, of course, because a bar in South Beach is like that's a whole.
Yeah, here you don't have the guys trying to get to know you.
Yeah. You always had these people, so. Why do you think bachata is different than salsa?
Because it is a closer dance and it's slower, and the music, the more modernized bachata songs are very romantic. Well, salsa is romantic too, but it's slower and it's like about a breakup. And I mean, you see these people, they just come together and it's just like, you get hot watching them. It's a little uncomfortable. But to me, it's not my taste. I don't really care for that style of bachata. Power to you people who do it. I mean, it's a thing, and it's hard to do. I'm not discrediting it in any way. It's just that progression of from where I started learning it to what I see now.
What was it back then?
It was more traditional bachata. You didn't grind. It was more about the footwork and the intricacy of the beats and the music. And that to me is more interesting, to try to figure out how to move your feet to the guitar, and how me and you could be dancing together doing two completely different moves and then boom, land together and like blend it in, like so cool. That to me is so special. Mm-hmm. And what I liked about bachata. Whereas some bachata now is more modernized and it's just all grinding, mostly grinding.
So let's talk about that. I'm sure a lot of ladies can relate.
Some people are gonna get offended.
And there's
sorry.
A system. There's a system within the ladies to manage situations like that. So what's yours? Like you go to a social. Oh, that awesome song is on. You want to dance out. You don't. You dance to that guy, and he has a whole different plan. How do you manage?
It's hard. It's uncomfortable. Honestly.
Besides sending Miguel to kick.
Yeah, I had to learn that real quick, how to maneuver my way out of those situations once I got married.
So what would be your tip for the ladies that?
Somebody told me to put instead of like putting your hand on his back, putting it in the front of his shoulder, and whenever he tries to get close, you kind of push with a little bit of pressure, like don't like push him off of you,
right,
obviously, but kind of like just nudge them slightly, and they get the point. Maybe after 2 times of them trying to get closer to you and you snudge a little bit, they get the point, like, okay, she's not trying to get, you know, that close to me.
If not, you just go to a fist and
then you could just be like, you know what, thanks, bye. No. I've never had to do that. So it's always worked out in my favor.
Oh, so just a push.
Yeah, just a little nudge. I think one time I said, be careful, my man's right there. And I even got in trouble for that, but I never do that one again.
Okay. But, you know, you're in a dance. You cannot just walk away
Yeah,
unless they really cross the line. Normally in a social dance, you don't do that, no matter how good or bad is the dancer. I hope everybody agree with me here. So, but again, they cross the line in an okay way. So a push, you say something?
A little nudge. I try not to say anything because we're dancing and they probably might not even hear me anyway. But then I just know that the next time I might come up with an excuse to not dance with that person again. I've actually had a person like do a backflip trick on me in the middle of a social, and it's like,
oh my God.
Like, are you crazy? Like, I have bad knees. But you know, guys, watch yourselves a little bit.
Yeah, that's a whole social dance.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are super weird that happen sometimes, but for the most part, if you they can read your body language, ladies. So if you're kind of all over them, then they know that they can do these moves with you. But if you're a little bit more like standoffish, then they kind of pick up on that and they won't even try.
Good. But overall, it's not to the extreme in the scene. No, and that's one thing that it's so good about our scene.
Thankfully, it's been so few and far between of disrespect. I mean, you go to a regular club and
that's a whole different thing.
Left and right, you're being disrespected. But that's a beautiful thing about salsa and bachata in this community. When you go on, maybe there's other Latin cruises out there where it's not about that. And in ours, you see so many people, thousands upon thousands of people dancing. Everybody's kind of like, nobody's bumping into anybody. Everybody's just doing their thing. And it looks so beautiful and so seamless. And everybody's there for the right reasons, which is, I want to have a great time and dance. You're going to have your locals out there and locas out there, but for the most part everybody's there to just get a good dance in and move on to the next person.
So how do you get your dance fix nowadays? You go social dancing, you attend congresses, you just dance at home?
Ooh, I've been slacking, honestly. I've been slacking a lot. I know. My dance fix is Saturdays with my kids. I would take like Zumba classes, and my husband and I will dance at home. Every once in a while, we'll put on some salsa because he loves salsa, so I gotta, you know, please him. Put some salsa on, and we'll dance in front of my daughter, and she loves that.
She loves dancing?
Oh yeah, cool. She just started in an official dance class, and she tells me, "Not with you, mommy," because she's been taking my dance class since she was 1.5 years. But now that she's 3, she's in her own dance class. Not with mommy. And no, it's a creative movement class, so it's just kind of preparing them for whatever area they want to take on later on. So just kind of controlling their body, similar to what I do with my kids, where you got to learn how to dance first before you can pick a style. But I would say it's more geared to like ballet. So she wears like the little ballerina outfits.
Ballet has so many great benefits for kids.
The discipline.
Discipline.
Discipline, flexibility, body control, posture. But I would say that the discipline is the biggest thing. Like, it's hardcore.
Yeah, they're not playing around.
They don't play around.
They look so cute.
Yeah, she looks adorable. I mean, not because she's my kid, but she looks pretty cute.
So the art of autism is your nonprofit kind of side thing that you do out of great passion to help others. But you also have education and you work within the medical field of helping others. Do elaborate.
Yeah, so a lot of people have asked me, why I'm not working with ADC, what happens, and I appreciate the love and the support and the concern. I got fired. No. It was a tough decision because, of course, I'm very passionate about ADC and dance and the Latin community, and I saw it grow from the beginning. But I also always had that in my heart, in the back of my mind, of what I studied, what I worked so hard for in school to build a career on behavioral therapy with children with autism. And I just felt that nudge in my heart for probably 6 months of like, what are you doing? Come on, you got to do something with this. And who knows what's going to come of it, maybe a cruise with children with autism and dance and music, who knows? But for now, I felt like I needed to go back to that. So now I'm working at a clinic. It's like a clinic base, but we go to the schools, we go to the homes, and we have like a little preschool program where we work with these kids. And I focus on ABA, which is applied behavioral analysis, which sounds like a snooze fest, but it's actually pretty cool. But it's a lot more serious. My day-to-day is totally different than booking people's vacations, which everybody calls, ready to have a good time, where most of the conversations I have are very, very serious. But I do love it. I do absolutely love it. I see the changes in these families, in these kids. I'm making a bigger impact in their lives than just seeing them on Saturdays. So it's something I needed to do, and I really love it. And just took my board exam, so that would be a game changer.
Congrats.
Yeah, congrats. Like in a month when I found out if I passed. I really did. And I was in a different mental state now where I valued it a lot more. So I'd be interested to see all the things that I could do with this.
You mentioned a cruise. I think your mission with what you do is much bigger. You keep on saying awareness, and I think that's where we're lacking mostly, and that's why organizations like yours and more great fundraisers and awareness organizations that basically just want to make people aware
of what it is.
Yes, and accept it. And how do you feel about where America stands on that today? Because there is more today than 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
But a long way to
and
go.
Honestly, that same trip that I just took to DR kind of shifted my perspective a little bit, because being in the field, working with kids with autism for 10 years now, I saw a lot of things and I got very frustrated. Like I said, I left the field because I was so discouraged and frustrated. Going back to it now, because I did take a break, it's a lot better, but we still have so much more room to grow. Here in the United States, there is a lot of push for awareness, and that's great and all. People kind of at least are familiar with the word autism, where before they were clueless to what the word even was. But it's time to take action and do more things to actually support programs that give back to our kids specifically. So it's great to light it up blue in the month of April for autism awareness, and you see the Eiffel Tower lights up blue, and here
people
they don't really know.
I want to really speak everybody's language. You had a situation that I remember very clearly with that, in your community and the letter that you received.
Oh, yeah.
Without mentioning names or crossing the lines, share that, because that's, I think, will explain what at least what I mean by awareness. Yeah.
So awareness of the word is one thing, and awareness of what are some of the symptoms where you can pick up on, maybe they're suffering from autism. Maybe that's what's happening. There was a situation here in South Florida where a parent of a child with autism received a letter in her building saying that nobody in that building wanted her or her child there because the child would make a lot of loud noises and stomp on the floor, and it was an apartment. So of course the people living below and around would get disturbed, and she would be doing this at all hours of the night. And their first knee-jerk reaction is, let's send a letter to get her evicted.
No.
And that, to me, it hurts because it kind of shows it in your face that all this awareness, all this like, oh, here's autism, people still don't know what are those things to look out for. And if there is a child who is flapping around in the pool at all hours of the day, stomping on the floor at home, making these crazy sounds, knock on your neighbor's door and say, hey, how can I help? What's going on? Like, be human. Remember that there's a person that's probably, like, imagine those parents. You're annoyed. Imagine the mother and the father that deal with this all the time. So just going out of your way and out of your comfort zone to educate yourself. And it's just by asking simple questions. How can I help? What's going on? Teach me. You know, it's that simple. And that's where we're lacking a little bit.
It's acceptance.
Acceptance. Yeah. One thing is awareness. Another thing is acceptance, and then taking action of, you know, helping others or in different ways. You know, it's not for everybody, but there's different ways that you can help out. And again, I'm complaining about the United States, but when I went to DR and I saw they're much more far behind. So we have come a long way. I'm not discrediting that.
Like a lot of people, look, I mean, do we have problems in this country? 100%.
Of course.
There, like, our things needs to change and get better and change. Yeah, 100%. But we are doing so much better than so many other places. And when you complain, sometimes ask yourself, yeah, well, where else would you live?
Right.
Okay, you really want to go to Europe right now, or some places in South America or maybe Asia? By the way, Europe is amazing, Asia is amazing. Like, but as a country, like or a continent, we're doing okay.
Yeah, and the opportunities. People say it all the time. I want to go to the United States for the opportunities. I didn't really understand that until I mean, I'm so naive because I had never. I was born here, you know, and going to another country and seeing how they live, they're all happy and not knocking their lifestyle. But it's harder, you know. There really aren't that many opportunities, you know, unless you grab a chair and you grab a cardboard box and say, you know, barber in the corner, that's your business. Like, there really isn't much else. So
how's the statistics on autism among kids and adults in this country? Do you know?
It's booming. It's booming, which is scary. It's more common in boys than girls, and I believe the newest statistic is 1 in every 54 boys.
It's booming. Why? And by the way, before you answer, guys, if you have any questions for Audrey or ADC or autism, whatever it is, post it right now. We have a couple more questions and we're done. But yeah, why is it booming? There's anything?
A combination of because there's more awareness and education, it's being more diagnosed, where before it was like flying under the radar, and doctors weren't too familiarized with it, so they weren't, still to this day. But now there is more awareness about it, so you're getting quicker diagnosis and more diagnosis. And then, I mean, there has to be something about the way we're living our lives. I mean, there's other countries where you do not see the numbers that you see here. Don't know if it's, again, awareness of it, that it's getting more diagnosed, but you can't change the fact that you go to the supermarket, you walk into a classroom, you go to the park, and you will see children on the autism spectrum. I mean, I'm more hypervigilant to it because I know the signs, but I mean, you go anywhere and you see it, whereas before, even though I knew about it, I didn't see it as much as I do now. So it is growing. It is growing exponentially.
Circling all the way back to your foundation, the Arts of Autism, what's next? How would you grow it, or what's on, in the pipeline for?
The biggest thing for me right now is training other dancers to do the same and other therapists to do the same. So I've been doing a lot of trainings last year and moving forward into this year, trying to get more dance studios to think about how you can make it more inclusive, so that people, adults and children alike with autism, are able to go to your dance studios and still reap the benefits that we, reap whenever we walk into a dance studio. And it's going to be an uphill battle, but, doing things like this and going out and speaking out has really made an impact. I have people contacting me pretty regularly, like, hey, how do I get certified? How do I learn more? I want my dance studio to be able to accept children with autism. So that's pretty cool.
What does one need? I own a dance studio. I want to get involved. Do I need to hire like certified instructors, I assume? Do I need to have certain things in my studio?
Yeah.
I don't know, legal stuff. I mean,
nothing legally necessarily, but I would highly suggest having an instructor who's certified in it. And the certifications are a weekend. So it's not something that's like crazy intense, send them to school. They could just attend a weekend little seminar, and now that person is certified to teach a class. And the adaptations that are, it's minimal. It's actually get rid of stuff, like clear the room to make space for them without distractions. So it's not like you need to buy, you know, equipment or anything. Every dance studio can do it.
Can add it as a workshop or as a permanent class. And the mission and the cause is big and huge, and I'm sure so many people are going to be all about that. But from a business perspective, is it also like can be a beneficial thing?
Absolutely, because you can open up now your pool of members. Why not? You know, especially dance studios that are geared towards children. You know how many of your students at this moment have a sibling or a cousin that's on the spectrum, a friend that's on the spectrum, and now you can include them in your membership? Like, why not? You know, you're doing it for the right reasons, and then on top of that, you're adding to your database. You know, like, why not? You know, so it's a pretty cool thing. And for more information, it's spectrumdancetherapy.com. You see it there, how you can get certified, little training informations there, and just open up your minds of how you could service more diverse populations.
Me, 10 years ago, I would totally add it to our dance studio. I think every studio can add it. There's nothing to lose. You don't really need any fancy, expensive equipment.
No.
1 weekend of your time, which in most cases, like, I value time more than money. Somebody can donate money, cool, thank you, it's better than nothing, but time is everything. So if you give a weekend and you actually get certified, which basically means getting you, you know,
up to speed of what to look for and what it takes. Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly.
And worst comes to worst, business-wise, if it doesn't work well and you make good money or any money, you did the right thing. It's a great cause. You can use it for your benefit. I mean, I think everybody that looks at your studio
it's a win-win.
respect you in a different
Absolutely, absolutely. We're working in a new location now that is a dance studio, because we've always been in dance studios that were for adults.
Yeah.
This is the first time where we're in a dance studio for children, and so it's pretty cool. Because now my kids have an opportunity to really be like included in what a typical dance studio for children looks like, and they can be a part of a recital. And that's going to be really cool. We have our first recital coming up in June, so that's going to be huge.
Are you going to go live?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your website. You took my job away, but good. How else somebody can reach out to you, learn more, ask you questions, share with you whatever, guys, for any reason? How can somebody contact you?
So the website, again, is spectrumdancetherapy.com. But the biggest platform that I have right now, where I share most of my content, is Instagram, like everybody else, but our IG is arts_for_autism, arts for autism with underscores. So at arts for autism is our IG, and I talk about a ton of different topics. I answer a ton of questions through the stories, so you can really learn a lot. I would say there's good content out there on our IG stories.
What about direct messaging to you?
Yes, DM me. Facebook,
at Audrey,
Lynn, Amadeo.
Okay, cool.
That's my personal page. You guys can message me there. Email me, spectrumdancetherapy@gmail.com.
Or just call Aventura Dance Cruise. We're
and be
gonna
like, yo, I want to talk to Audrey. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you. And
Thank
guys,
you
check
guys.
out Audrey's page, and we will see you on the dance floor.
Yes. Can't wait.
Bye, guys. Take
See you
care.
on board. I haven't said that in a while.